Hey. Well, I was thinking, I've been miserable most of my life. Not all of it. I had 4 years of college that were utopian. But most of my life has been painful, and especially the last 20 years or so, 20 years, have just been just spirit breaking. I know very well what it feels like to be suicidal. I know what it feels like to be unloved. I was adopted when I was an infant. I wasn't wanted by my biological parents, whom I was told, my parents were told, were middle-aged when they conceived me, and my biological mother and my biological father both had an affair at the office, and I was a product of that affair, so I was not wanted. In that time, abortion wasn't legal, and it wasn't common, so that's why I'm here, I'm sure. I was told that my biological mother, wanted to give me up and try to get her life back on track with her family and see if she could salvage her family. And I don't know anything really about my biological father. I believe I do have siblings out there, half siblings. At least on her side, I don't know. But I was adopted as an infant, and I think very selfishly adopted, because the family that adopted me, 2 parents and a big brother, and of course he couldn't be faulted for it, not to mention he was only 7 years old, but my mother and my father, they had adopted a little boy, their perfect child. He was perfect to them. He was absolutely perfect. And then they adopted me, and I was not quite as perfect. I came with more baggage. I came with more problems. And apart from that, my mother and my father did not get along. They were very angry. My mother, intensely angry. My father, his spirit broken, slept to escape her. Me coming home from school, praying that the car wasn't going to be in the driveway, that she was off doing errands, terrified that she'd be home because the tension was so unbearable with her and her hatred, her hostility. She has been hateful to me virtually my entire life. But she was angry at my father. She was angry, and she was jealous of my aunt, her sister, who had an ideal marriage. And the anger in our house was just so palpable. The hatred in our house was so strong. And I was the youngest. I was the weakest. I was the smallest. And I was by far the most abused. My dad was too, but he withdrew. He didn't rescue me. He just withdrew. don't really know what my brother did. He formed an alliance with my mother. They still have that alliance today. And anyway, you know, I grew up in a family, but in a family that, a very angry family, in a very hateful mother, very cruel, hateful mother. Anyway, I was just thinking, you know, how unloved I feel, how unlovable in some ways I feel, and how, because they chose me when I was just an infant, I never had the chances, I never had the opportunity to be loved the way that other people did and other people do, and I feel gypped. I feel really, really gypped. I mean, who takes an infant and then destroys that child and destroys that person with hatred and anger when they could have left that child for another family who could love her, somebody who could accept her and love her? Well, I was just thinking about the fact that I actually was adopted, and so there is another family out there. It doesn't mean my biological parents are still alive. I really don't know for sure anything about them at all, and I've never pursued it. Probably a lot out of fear of rejection. I mean, they rejected me once, and I was a cute little infant then. I mean, and I have proven to one family how incredibly unlovable I am, so to the family who first rejected me, I mean, who knows what they'll think. But then I think maybe the siblings will see it differently. Or maybe they won't. Maybe they never knew about me. I don't know. Or maybe they don't exist. Maybe I'm wrong. But I'm thinking about it, you know? I'm hurting so badly from not having anyone who cares about me. I don't know there's not really anybody who cares about me. And I don't truly believe that I am incapable of being loved or incapable of being lovable. Just that it's made harder by the fact that I'm so damaged, that I hurt so much, that I'm so desperate for love, desperate to be accepted. So, I don't know the best way to go about finding my biological family. I mean, I've looked things up online just to see if maybe, you know, my birth date and birth, you know, town aligned with somebody who was looking for somebody who was born then and there, but I don't know that they would even know I existed to put that information out there. It's not like I can afford to hire a private investigator. I don't really know the process to go through. I never did make my end open, so if they ever did want to search for me, you know, I never did anything about it. Again, you know, fear of rejection. Rejection is scary. I mean, we're all afraid of rejection. Some of us won't admit it, but we're all afraid of that. And I've known so much rejection in my life that to find somebody who'd actually accept me feels almost impossible. I mean, the odds of it seem very slight. So, but I am interested in pursuing that now. I certainly don't have any reason to show any loyalty to my mother, who has shown absolutely zero loyalty to me and very little kindness. And I'm always the one, the daughter, I'm the one always trying to reason with her, always trying to downplay things she says so that we can get along, and then I walk on eggshells trying to prevent, to lighten the mood or to reduce animosity, but she didn't want to play that game. She has her anger, and she is not about to let go of it. I wish that they had not adopted me. That was tremendously selfish of them. Or maybe they just didn't have the problems at that point. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to contradict something my mother told me. I am not. I was an infant. I was not capable of destroying my family. I am not the reason that my brother felt like he had no mother. If he felt that way, it was because of her. Or possibly just because of his own, first child syndrome. 7 years of being the only child, and suddenly there's somebody else taking a little bit of the, maybe even a lot of it, a lot of the attention away as an infant, a new infant. But it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. Contrary to what my mother says, it was not my fault. And I know that. I mean, I'm with it enough, and I'm strong enough to know it, to know that. I managed to straighten my thinking out a few years back, because I used to believe what my mother and my brother and my dad would tell me, that I was the one who was destroying the family, that everything bad that happened was my fault. I mean, they had to say it to somebody, and who was the weakest member? Who was the member who couldn't really fight back, right? The youngest, the most vulnerable, the weakest member. So anyway, looking back at all that, I feel no sense of loyalty. There's no reason for me to have loyalty to them. Anyway, I'm just toying with the idea. But I admit I'm afraid. I don't want to be rejected again. Yet again. Unacceptable to even more people in life. But then again, maybe I'll find something that I've never had. Maybe I'll find a connection with somebody that up to this point I've never found. I mean, we would be somewhat related. I'm sure they didn't have a second child, those two, but I would be related to somebody, so maybe there would be a connection. Maybe they would want somebody new in their life, even if it meant that their mother was untrue or that their father was untrue. way back. Or maybe they know that by now. Maybe they knew that back then. I don't know. Anyway, that's just what I'm thinking. That I might look for my biological parents or my biological siblings if my parents are no longer there. I've always had more of a... You'd think that I'd want to meet my biological mother and replace the cruel mother that raised me. And I guess I should have wanted that, but I don't know. I always have thought more about having siblings. I don't know. Probably shouldn't have waited so long. And I still don't know that I'm committing to doing it. Let me know what you think. Anybody who sees this, you think it's a good idea to go looking for my biological family? Or you think the risk is too great? Let me know. Thanks.